Hello, and welcome to another episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No. It's Sarah Benkin-Fishy, your host, and I'm so excited to introduce you to an amazing founder, Melissa Parvis of Fresh Clean Threads. Not only is she an outstanding CEO and founder, but she's also one of the winners of the 50 fastest growing women-owned and led businesses presented by Women Presidents Organization and JP Morgan Chase. Today, we're getting up close and personal with Melissa. We're learning about how she started her subscription t-shirt based business, as well as how she has grown and scaled wildly into over $70 million in annual revenues. My favorite thing she said was, do as much as you can for as long as you can. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No, where we believe high achieving female leaders deserve to be known. Here, you're going to get the tips, tools, and inspiration you need to network, grow, scale, and balance your business, career, and life. This is a special series of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No, where you'll get up close and personal with the winners of the 50 fastest women-owned and led companies in America, as presented by WPO and JP Morgan Chase. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No. Today, I'm so excited to have Melissa Parvis with us. She is the co-founder and president of Fresh Clean Threads, and this conversation is going to be so good. I already know it. Melissa, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
So I just want to jump right in because there's so much to talk about. First and foremost, for those of you who are listening and maybe have not heard of Fresh Clean Threads, also used to be known as Fresh Clean Tees, tell us a little bit about the brand.
Okay. Fresh Clean Threads is, it started out as a men's subscription box for men's t-shirts. And now we are dressing not only men, but men and women from head to toe in the most comfortable, affordable basics.
Amazing. So what I love about this brand is, and you and I kind of talked a little bit about this, you started this as like a male t-shirt line, and it was like in pursuit of like looking for a consistent shirt that could be in a V-neck, a polo, a t-shirt, a crew neck, a long sleeve, a short sleeve. And we laughed about this because I said, my husband is such a t-shirt snob that you literally like created this whole brand for like him and every man that's a t-shirt snob. So I love it. You really focus on like the consistency of like the fit and the size, right?
Yeah. The consistency and the quality of the fabric and the fit of these shirts is the most important thing to us.
And you started this in 2015. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about like your scale and how big you and your husband, who is also your co-founder and CEO, really have made a company like this. And it's incredible to see the amount of growth that you've had in the last 8 years. But I want to go back. So prior to Fresh Clean Threads, you were in apparel. So your entire career has been in apparel, right?
Yes, this is true. I started out with the relaunch of OP right when I graduated from FIDM. I was a product developer. I've worked in merchandising. I've kind of always been in the men's action skate space, action sports space. So I've worked for like Hurley and OP and Billabong. And I've also done custom clothing for a little while. That's where I got really into fit and technical design. And I've also worked at a screen printer before doing kind of product development and merchandising for them as well.
I think it's so important for people to know this, hearing and learning about new brands or meeting the founders from some of their brands that they love, is that they were and you have this background in this industry, and you've kind of been able to leverage every bit of all the different like elements of your experience in the industry to really pour into your own company. So I think that's so cool. And you have said that you are definitely the product person, and you've been able to leverage like even the technical design side. You knew coming into this sort of like what it needed to like look like and feel like, which I think is so cool. So you started this thing as a subscription business. Let's talk a little bit about how and why you went down that model.
Look, this was like the height of the Dollar Shave Club. And we just wanted to do something that was simple, didn't reinvent the wheel, something that guys needed. It wasn't super niche where we weren't going to have very many customers. And it felt like we'd be able to scale it eventually. Although I will say when we started it, it was just a hobby project. And I don't think we even knew what scale was.
And I think, yeah, I love that. So like when we were talking, you were saying like you spent the first 2 years, you and your husband were like the doers of this brand, right? Like 2 years in the guest bedroom before you went and got a factory and before you went and really scaled this thing up. But I mean, how incredible was it? I feel like one of the things that contributes to your success, and I talk about this a lot with our community of ambitious businesswomen, is one, it's the recurring revenue and the subscription model. Like if you can lock in on that, then that's the best, right? Because it's like repeatable revenue, and you're not always in pursuit of a brand new client every single purchase, but also too, just a simple business, right? You were looking for a great t-shirt, and that was it. It wasn't overcomplicated. You didn't try to, reinvent, with other product lines and other things. You didn't go into like crazy accessories. You weren't trying to do everything. You were just trying to create the perfect tee, right?
Yeah. And I think what you're trying to do when you start a business is you're trying to solve for a problem. And so you're like, what problem do guys have? Okay, they have a problem that they go to the store, they find a t-shirt that they like, and then a month later they want a few more, and they go back and they can't find the same fabric, they can't find the same fit, it's changed. And so we wanted to solve for that problem.
Yeah, no, I love that. And two, to become like a reliable resource. So we talked about this too. You, Bill, I said, let's talk a little bit about motherhood. So you're married to the co-founder, you have a baby with him, and you have a 3-year-old now. And when I asked you if we could talk a little bit about your, personal life, family life, balanced life, and you told me this one thing, which I thought was so incredible. You told me that you really built this business for your own life. And I think so many women do that too. When we launch our brand, it's either because of a passion or it's because of what we seem to think might provide flexibility, right?
For sure. And I think for me, it was both.
And you talked about it, like you were working at Hurley, probably working way too many hours. You didn't have control of your schedule, and you knew that you wanted to have a family.
Yes, I wasn't at Hurley when we started this business. We had just moved back to San Diego, and I was actually working for Bad Boy. And it was like, you need to be in the office 9 to 5. We are watching you. And I was just thinking, how am I going to have a family and sit at a desk working for somebody else all these hours?
Right. So talk to me a little bit about how you conceptualize fresh, clean threads. How did you, we got a little bit about what it is and how, and the problem that you were solving, but talk to us about back then in 2015, like what were those initial steps that you took to bring this to market?
For sure. I just remember Matthew and I were on a vacation in Hawaii, and we were just so sick of working for other people that we were like, how do we do this? And so I used all my resources from the past. I got samples made. I got neck prints made. I was like hand neck printing the shirts myself, like this heat press out of our guest bedroom. I was writing, I call them love notes to all of our customers. Thank you so much for ordering. This is so great. And I would pack them, and we had I think like USPS, I would drop them off. And then we started doing so many orders that they would come to my house and pick up the orders every single day. So because it was a subscription, we would renew once a month. And then the rest of the month, you would just be packing new orders, new customers that had come in that day. And so on the 15th of every month, we would have all the orders ready and packed. And then we would just print all the labels of all the renewals that day and go through and put them on the orders. And USPS would come with a big truck and pick them up. It was really fun, actually. And it's really important, I think, to do as much as you can on your own for as long as possible.
Absolutely. I also am a firm believer as a founder and visionary that we play a role in all the beginning parts of it, right? So we know how everything works. And I think that there's like a lot of importance in like packing those boxes and saying like, this is what the customer should feel when they receive our box or whatnot. And I think that you launched in like the perfect time. Like you said, like, yes, I was totally a member of Dollar Shave Club, even as a woman, because I just loved the product. And then my husband, my son, and we're still users of it. And so
I am as well.
So the subscription model like really, really works. And I feel like it could have been a really great way to like introduce yourselves into the market versus going into like massive retailers, right? I mean, talk to us a little bit about how you started in like getting the word out. You had mentioned that you were using sites like Create Joy and other places, but you really put a lot into like social media marketing and ads and things like that, right?
Yes, this is true. So we were on the platform called Create Joy that was specifically for subscription boxes. And so we got started on there, and I feel like they did some emails and marketing to help us a little bit, but really what we would do would be after hours, because we were still working our regular jobs. In the evenings, we would take photos of our product, and my husband would learn everything he could read about on Facebook marketing, and we just did it all ourselves.
I love that. I love that. So, as a non-technical person, I have mad respect for your husband to learn these Facebook, Instagram meta ads, because like that to me sounds like the worst thing to do in the world. But it just is, it's just so true that, you know what, you can DIY into a pretty outstanding brand. And if you don't have a lot of cash, right, and you're bootstrapping and maybe you're trying to build your side hustle and you're open to turning it into your full-time hustle or whatever your situation is, I mean, there's so much opportunity in doing it yourself in the beginning. And you all, before you turned over to an agency, I mean, you scaled your brand up to like the $1.1 to $2 million range and doing everything yourself. What do you think was that like moment in time where you were like, okay, it's time to like pass this off to, the agency, or time to get a warehouse, time to like look at fulfillment? At what point was there like a specific moment where you were like, all right, Matthew, like I am done packing these boxes, or like what happened?
Sure. I remember we got to 1,000 members, and that feels like a lot of boxes like stuffed up in my guest room, but I just loved doing it. But when we realized it was cost neutral to be in a fulfillment center with their discounts on shipping, it was like, oh, this is kind of a no-brainer instead of doing it out. And we were running out of space. The garage was like 1 rack of bins, and then it was 2 racks of bins, and then it was 3. And now we're like, okay, we're running out of space for the t-shirt. We're running out of space for the boxes, everything and then when it was the net neutral cost savings, I guess, like maybe not savings, but again, like net neutral. So
yeah.
Oh, I can do it myself, or we could pay somebody else the exact same amount. And then with their discounts and shipping, it's the exact same price. And that gives us more time to grow the business, do all the other things that we needed to do.
And then like find a little bit of downtime too, right? Like we're not
Enjoy
like
it a
constantly.
little bit. We're like, hey, we're making some good money. Maybe we could actually travel a little bit. Things were kind of fun and easy then, to be really honest.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk a little bit about this for like my super control freaks out here who are probably listening, like thinking like, oh my God, how do you go from like controlling every single box and everything to like letting go? Talk a little bit about that experience, especially from you, who's like the product person, right? Like this is the product being that it's e-com, like the product is everything. So how did you have any issues with letting go? Did you,
Yeah.
yeah,
For
talk about
sure,
that.
I didn't understand again this like scaling that you kind of have to streamline things. And so I used to personally, the guys who would get three different colors every month, not the black and the white shirts, those were easy. The guys who would get three different colors, I would keep this spreadsheet and be like, this month they got these three colors, next month they're getting these three colors. And so I was like, oh, or the guys got like a black white color. And again, I was doing this spreadsheet where one guy got blue, one guy got orange, one guy got purple. And the 3PL was like, every guy in March has to get green. And I'm like, I don't think we can do this. The guys aren't going to like it. Oh, I don't think we got any complaints, maybe one or two. And that gave me time to like step back. And again, this is where I say do as much as you can for as long as you can. It helps you know everything and teach somebody else. So we would go to the 3PL. We taught them how we wanted the orders packed. We taught them how we wanted the teas lined up. We taught them how we wanted the card to look in the box. And it's the same thing with hiring employees. Like if I know how to run all my operations, then I know who to hire, how to teach them. And if someday that person wins the lottery and leaves me, I can do it myself or teach the next person.
100%. As a founder of many brands, I am a firm believer in that. And I am so, so glad you said that, because I think the way that some people approach business these days, they want to immediately hire, or they want to immediately outsource all the things that they don't like, whether or not they have the funding for it or whatever. And I feel like what really sets us apart as successful business people is that we know the operations, or at least enough to get by, right? We know how it started. We know what it's supposed to look like. And I love that you said that. Do as much as you can until you can't. I mean, and I think too, at the end of the day, this is your business, right? Like, so you should take pride in all of the intricacies, right? And not be so quick to outsource those things that are maybe a little bit more pesky, especially in the beginning.
100%. And I think it makes you value everything so much more. I mean, it makes you value. And again, when you're bootstrapping, like every single dollar that you're putting in and taking out, like running lean is so important because this is your livelihood.
Yeah, exactly. This episode of the High Achieving Female podcast is brought to you by the Business Growth Academy. Growing a business can be overwhelming, confusing, and lonely. Time and financial freedom feel hard to achieve, but it doesn't have to be that way. Vanessa Shaw is the go-to business coach and mentor for ambitious women who are ready to be the real CEO and scale their business to enjoy more money, more impact, and more freedom. If you want to free up at least one day a week at a minimum of 6 figures in new business and pay yourself more, reach out to her at businessgrowthacademy.com to chat about scaling without sacrificing what's most important to you. Now back to the show. And so you started with tees, men's tees, and you've expanded, now being called threads. I love this because now you've very carefully introduced other components like a woman's performance line and some other things. Talk a little bit about that decision to go from like tees to other things. And what are some of the other things that you offer?
Yeah. I mean, it took me so long to get to women's. And I think one, I was really concerned about how women shop and the return rates and how many sizes they would need to try on versus men who are so much easier. And so I would say that like we started with men's crew necks and V-necks, and we've always just listened to the customers. We read all the customer service. We see what people are asking for. We take surveys. What colors do you want? What products do you want? And I would say the next big product we launched was polo shirts, and those did so well that we started thinking, okay, well, what else do guys want? We launched joggers at the end of last year. We try and stay to comfortable, affordable, and basic.
Love
And
it.
then this year, we've been working on this really amazing fabric, and we recently launched performance for men. So we launched with a polo and a t-shirt, and the fabric's so good. I mean, the polo's sold out really quickly. We're about to restock, which I'm really excited about. We got into wovens this year. So now we have a little like everyday short, which is doing
Oh,
really well. We did launch women's this year, just a crew neck and a V-neck, but you're about to see some more products coming out at the end of this year with a nice restock on t-shirts. We also found what was really important when we launched our women's line. The feedback was that women wanted true plus sizes. So now we have true plus sizes for women will be coming in a few weeks. You'll see those. So like a true 1X, 2X, 3X versus just like a graded spec that gives you bigger sizes. So this is true plus sizes. I think that's really important. Body positivity and inclusive sizing. We really want to be a great fit for everybody. And so we've learned that with men's, we did great with going up to 3X, 4X, and tall sizes. The tall customers
yes.
get amazing feedback from our tall customers. So we're trying to add more tall products for them. We found when we were doing our research that a lot of big and tall products were just not soft and comfortable like our shirts. And we felt like that wasn't really fair to those guys. So they've been amazing customers. And then we learned, we're learning who our woman is. And so we felt like women needed sizing different than men. And so their shirts will be coming in, like I said, true plus sizes.
Oh, I love this so much. And like the intention behind it, not to keep talking about my husband, but he's 6'5", and it's so difficult for him to find clothing, whether he is, having to buy a larger size, hoping for it to be a little bit longer, or going to a big and tall store and then it being longer, but then being too large. It's just so challenging, I think, even just watching him shop. And then for me as a woman too, like finding things that fit appropriately and that feel nice and feel luxurious. I think it's amazing that you're doing the research, you're listening to what the consumer wants and needs, and you're really making those pivots to provide that for them. So I think it's amazing. We talked a little bit about revenue, and I love to talk about revenue only because it is one measure, right? So we said in year one, you probably made like 50 grand, right? You launched during Black Friday. You were doing this out of your guest room. You did all of this work on your own to kind of like bring the side hustle to a full-time hustle. And what do you think about 8 years later now? What do you think you're going to be at about this year? Where are you projecting? So 50,000 in year one to where now?
Well, I think that we should finish this year around 75 million.
Wow. Did you hear that, lady? She went from $50,000 in 8 years to 75 million. And quote me if or correct me if I'm wrong. You're not in retailers, right? You're not. This is mostly like, order.
It's strictly D2C. And we also have an Amazon shop. But right now it's all on our own website. We do have a separate site and fulfillment center in Canada, and we will be opening the UK probably in the next month.
I love this. So many people think that they have to go so big, right? Like their goal is to like be in Target or in Costco or in some of these other huge box retailers or Nordstrom or whatever. And they spend a lot of time and effort on the conventions, right? And trying to like appeal to buyers, but you're walking living proof that it doesn't have to be that way. You can build a super solid, successful brand just through D2C on your own.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, the margins are just so much better when you're selling direct to your consumers and not having that middleman.
Absolutely. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe in like creating an apparel line or has an apparel line, and maybe it's just getting started or running into some of the common, pitfalls outside of, like I said, what you already said was do as much as you can for as long as you can. What are some of the other little pieces of advice or nuggets that you could give to some of these ladies who maybe are wanting to be like you?
with apparel or even with CPG is like being a really great negotiator in terms of what your price is, being a great negotiator on what your terms are, and when you're going to be paying these vendors, and making really good friends with your bankers. That's all I have to say.
Yes, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about that. Can we talk about like how important it is to stay lean, but also to stay fluid, and like cash flow is so important, especially for, a product-based business where you're having to like fulfill all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. You really want to scale carefully, because inventory can really hurt you if you have way too much inventory. Obviously, it's a problem if you don't have enough, but you need to test your products, get a lot of feedback, get a lot of data, and make sure you're making the right products in the right amounts before you go big on a product. Like, get your customer feedback. Make sure it's something that your customer wants or needs. Take surveys in advance. Get as much information and data as you can.
How did you do that? Or how would you suggest to someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of customers yet? But I completely agree with you. So getting customer feedback, do you think like giving friends, family, is it gifting? Is it like, what are your thoughts on some of those types of ways to like get the first initial look at your business?
Yeah, I think even when you're getting started, friends and family are great. Test this product out, try it on, give me your feedback. I mean, those people are closest to home, and they're probably going to be the most honest as well. Although I will say, when we got started, we had a lot of like, you guys are going to sell t-shirts? Like, why? What are you doing? No, you're in a subscription. Like, that's not going to work. Nobody needs that many t-shirts.
Yes, but they do, and they are, and they're, like you're like, okay, well, watch me work. We're going to try this out. Yeah, I love that. You also said that too. Like sometimes you have to like take the naysayers with a grain of salt, and just because they don't believe in your passion or your business model, it's your journey and not theirs. Right. And it's not your job to like talk everyone into this thing that you're doing. Right. Like,
no, the most important thing is that you believe in yourself and you're doing what you believe in.
how did you know that you were like, yep, this is good. We're on to something. Was there a moment when you were like, yeah, they said I wouldn't and they said I couldn't, but look at me now? Is there like a moment?
I don't know. I think I look in the mirror every day and I'm like, oh, okay, we're selling t-shirts. Let's do this.
Well, I will say from the first time that I met you, you were extremely humble, and you were so like, just so gracious and so like normal, we'll say the word, like, dare I say, like, you're just like one of us, right? There's no like extreme flash. Yeah. Like there's no flash or this like ego in you. And I really loved that when we connected for the first time. And that I think is so, so important, is to like stay grounded, right? Know who you are.
Definitely. And I think some people are like, oh, fame, success. I'm going to be the influencer behind my own product, or I'm making pretty good money. I'm going to go spend it all on a fancy car or clothes and become this like influencer or something that you don't really, it's sort of a distraction, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that.
I try and stay focused. I try and stay like, hey, I've got my family, I've got my business. This is what's important.
Right. And especially I think in like the fashion apparel industry or accessories, right? Like, you are actually the founder who is behind the scenes. So you don't lead with yourself, you lead with your products. In fact, if you're digging on her site, you literally see the products, and you have to scroll down to the bottom and you have to click the about us, because everyone wants the founder story on there. But it's not like your face blasted like so many other people think, right? Like, they have to, and maybe that's a misconception by society or the trends with social media or whatever, but it's okay to lead from behind and to push your product forward. I love that you do that.
Thank you so much.
So let's talk a little bit about funding. So we've been like really talking about how you started this thing in your home with your husband, in pursuit of flexibility, or your own ability to control your career. And you bootstrapped all the way up until 2020. Then you decided to take a small round of funding. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you and I were talking about this, and you said it wasn't even really necessarily for like the money, right? Like the cash money. It was about more than just that. Let's talk about why you chose to take that round of funding.
Yeah, the reason we took the funding, we definitely toyed with the idea of if we even wanted to do it. We were like, we could continue to run this as this amazing little lifestyle brand. We're very comfortable. We can keep doing this for a long time, or we could become a household name if we work with this VC and we scale very quickly. And so we just thought it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we also knew that we liked the playbook and the talent that would come along with being VC backed.
Yeah, yeah. I think that when you're onto something good, and there is an opportunity to take the money or not take the money. And sometimes when we're faced with that decision, it's really about looking at all of the other things, because it's not always a money thing. How did you how did the process work for you? Did someone approach you? Was it somebody in the industry? Was it, do you mind sharing a little bit about that process, just for anyone who maybe is looking at how to get some outside funding?
Yes. So we did start getting approached kind of in 2019 by some different people. And we did ask a friend, who our friend is the owner of Dr. Squatch. And we asked him what it was like to work with a VC. And that's when he said, oh, if you're speaking to one or two, private equity or VC, definitely speak to two or three. Don't just speak to one, so that you can see, what different personalities are like, what kind of funding you can get, and just what kind of value you'll actually get from working with these people. And so he said, if you're interested, I will introduce you to our investor. And so we had a call with that investor as well. And it just went really well. We clicked. We really loved their playbook. We loved the personalities. It just was a really good fit for Matthew and myself. And it did take a while to close our deal. We walked away from the first deal because we just weren't comfortable with the valuation at the time. And then they kind of kept us warm and kept talking to us. And so we were supposed to close right in the beginning of 2020, and it kind of got pushed a little bit because of COVID.
Mm.
And it just really all came together. I was very pregnant at the time.
I love you had said, like, if it's not happening, then it's not happening. I got to have this baby.
We don't close this deal before the baby comes. You can forget it, is what I said. And I just remember the wire hit. And then I remember being in the hospital room with my infant, and my husband was on the very first stand up with our VC.
I love that. I mean, and it probably took us some of the pressure off, but like I can only imagine the stress leading right up to that moment. What I do love that you said was you were prepared. You walked away. Like women who are looking for funding don't feel like you have to take the deal or you have to take the first iteration of the deal. It doesn't have to be. Ultimately, you can control who and how. But I think the biggest thing is to do it when you're not looking. That's when I hear most of the professionals, especially our partners at JP Morgan Chase, who are like, take it when you don't need it, right? Like, don't be in a moment of desperation. Because
if you're in a
they'll take
moment of
everything.
desperation to get funding, you're going to get a terrible deal. And same thing, if you're in a terrible situation, it's going to be really hard for a bank to help back you.
100%. And you've been able to scale tremendously through this, like this original like funding round. Do you have any interest or anything kind of like coming up that you would take another, or do you feel pretty secure with where you are?
No, we're in a really great place between like our financial partners at JP Morgan and just, the way where the business is and how we run the business profitably, that we just don't have any need.
I love that. So talk to us a little bit about what's next. So I know you've made some really big hires and put some focus into the product. So talk to us about what's next at Fresh Clean Threads. And I want to hear like, what's the plan for the next 8 years?
Yeah, we're just going to keep growing. We're going to keep growing the business. We're going to open new markets. We're going to keep scaling. We're going to offer more pieces and more styles and for men and for women. So you'll see more collections coming out and more new and exciting activewear. You'll see really cool stuff coming out for women next year, tech pants for men, all sorts of things.
I love that.
Excited about the new product. It's looking amazing.
I love that. Okay. So before I ask you my final question, I want you to share with everyone who's listening where they can find you. So I know you're online, you're on social. Where do they find and purchase your amazing products?
Yes, www.freshcleantees.com will actually bring you to our website because we didn't want to change the website.
Awesome.
But it'll pop up, it'll say Fresh Clean Threads. And I would say in the next few weeks, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff on the site.
Ooh, I cannot wait to see it. So my final question for you is, what is one or two things that you wish you didn't do that you did, and you want to let everyone know who's listening, like, pay attention to what? Like, what's one thing you wish you would have done, or one thing that you did that you wish you didn't in the scheme of building this business?
Ooh, this is a good question.
I know I put you on the spot. You didn't know this one was coming.
No, I didn't know this one was coming. I think just like the biggest thing on both like wish or didn't wish is just being super cautious, like that kind of hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
Because I think there's been times where we've hung on to the wrong employee for too long or tried to put them into another role, because my husband and I are both ENFPs. We're very nice people and we don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to grow a business and you need to hire the right people that can grow with you and help, grow your business.
Oh, best advice for sure. Hire slow, fire fast, and don't hang on to people that maybe are not meant to be there. And I will also say, who starts with you is usually not who finishes with you, because there's so many seasons, and your business season changes, their career seasons change. And I think it's just okay, right? Just being okay.
It is okay, because you know what? Somebody who was with you at $5 million might not be the person that's with you at 50 million or is going to be able to get you to 150 million, because they don't have that skill set. When you're small, you kind of have to hire jack of all trades and kind of train them and teach them and hope for the best. When you're at like 50 million, you need experts. You need somebody who's like expert at marketing, expert at finance to run your business.
I agree with you so much. Melissa, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your founder's story. I love that you built this business or created this business for your life and your lifestyle and your goals for a full life. So kudos to you and all of the amazing success you've had. I've already invited her to come speak at Summit in 2024. I hope to goodness that she's coming, because we've really just cracked the surface. And I cannot wait for you all to meet her in person. She is so amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of our show.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast, powered by No, where we believe it's time for high-achieving women like you to be seen, heard, and recognized. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be known.